Thanks for joining us. In this video, we'll be installing a swinging door. Now, before you begin, you need to know that the best installation requires a flat and level sill and a square and plumb opening. And when you're doing the install, make sure you carefully follow all the manufacturer's instructions, recommendations, and local codes. Alright, a couple of things before we get started. First, make sure the proper rough opening clearance provision has been met. Then, take some time to inspect the product for damage or missing components. Make sure the packaging materials have been removed and there's no debris on the door. Then, check the sill. You want to make sure that it's also debris-free before you get started. Now it's time to prep the rough opening. The process varies depending on the product, so we've already done that here. However, make sure you follow the manufacturer's recommendations for each product, including the weather barrier system. We've leveled and confirmed that the sill is flat by following our Leveling the Sill instructional video, which you can also check out on our YouTube channel. Then we installed a sill pan to protect the substrate under the door. Once the rough opening is prepped, we can start the installation process. At the sill, apply the proper sealant, again based on the manufacturer's recommendations for your specific product. For this one, I'll install a 3/8 inch nominal bead of sealant to the exterior of the rough opening, 3/4 inch down from the corner of the jamb, 3/4 inch in from the edge, then at the head, 3/4 inch in from the corner, and 3/4 inch up from the edge, leaving the top corners open. Now go ahead and put the door in front of the opening. Tip it back until it's center, but make sure you keep the rough opening clearance intact. Then temporarily fasten the top corners. This needs to be done before the sealant is allowed to set up. Then make sure the jambs are straight, true, plumb, interior, exterior, left, and right. You can do this by checking the diagonal measurements of the frame, like this. Alright, now let's move on to shimming. Shimming is extremely important. Under or over shimming can cause issues. The purpose of shimming is to keep it within 1/16 of an inch straight of plane. Alright, now before you shim, insert a backer rod all the way against the back of the nail flange. This is important because the backer rod disconnects the exterior from the interior, helping to insulate the door by giving any incidental moisture a path to follow down to the sill pan. In this video, we're doing a through jam installation, and there are a few ways to fasten the door into the opening. However, again, always follow the manufacturer's recommendations for your specific install. Alright, now we're going to shim behind the pre-drilled holes and then fasten at those spots. We'll start with the stationary panel, shimming at the bottom hinge. Shimming at the hinges provides a solid structure for fastening. It'll also allow you to make full adjustments in the hinges. Now, if there aren't any holes in the hinge, remove one of the interior fasteners and replace it with a 3-inch fastener. Now move to the top of the stationary panel, or the secondary panel, and shim behind the top hinge. Then use a 3-inch fastener. Take some time and make sure the jamb is plumb before you actually fasten. Move to the center of the jamb and shim behind the middle hinge, and then fasten with a 3-inch fastener. Again, make sure the jamb is plumb and straight without any bowing or hourglassing. Now that you have the foundation set, we can move over to the locking or the active side of the door and match it to the other jamb. At the bottom, go ahead and shim and fasten using a 3-inch fastener at the pre-drilled installation holes. Now move to the top and make sure the jamb is plumb. Then match it to the other jamb, fasten, shim, and fasten the top hinge location. Now move to the center hinge point, shim behind the hinge. Again, check for hourglassing or bowing. Then, if either exists, increase or decrease depending on what's needed. Then fasten with a 3-inch fastener. Go ahead and check the operations of the door, including the lock and reveals. Adjust the hinges if needed. Then, once you're set, move on to the exterior. On the exterior, fasten the nail fin based on the manufacturer's recommendations. For this one, we applied a fastener every other hole, working from the center out. This includes both jambs and head. And while doing this, make sure you continue to check your plumb and square while looking for hourglassing or bowing. Alright, now it's time to finish the exterior. Start by putting on the corner gaskets where the head and jambs meet. If you're using a rigid head flash or a drip cap, you would install it now. Then install the jamb flashing tape, lapping onto the side of the frame of the door, cutting the tape at a 45-degree angle away from the corner at the head. then pressing the cut tape down. Go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other jamb. Now install the head flashing tape, cutting the 45-degree angle at the corners of the head jamb and pressing the cut tape down. Go ahead and bring the top cut WRB down and tape the corners down. Then skip tape across the head every 12 to 15 inches. Now let's talk about installation. Once again, make sure you're following the manufacturer's recommendations and your local codes. There are several methods, so make sure you're using the right one for your specific installation. For this one, we installed the backer rod first, followed by a bead of low expansion spray foam. However, instead of spray foam, you can use loosely packed fiberglass insulation between the door and frame. Make sure you're checking operation throughout this entire process, along with the manufacturer's recommendations, just to make sure you're installing everything properly so the product performs as expected. And there you go, the door looks great. Thanks for watching.